Welcome back to the show. Before the break, we covered some of the wild spending and egregious waste at Global Affairs Canada, but now we will shift to the impact on Canadians. The average Canadian hears about this and thinks, how is this even possible? In any normal organization, if someone was caught wasting this much money, they'd be fired immediately. But in government, there's no accountability. So why are there no checks and balances stopping GAC from blowing taxpayer money on things that don't benefit Canadians?
Well, you're definitely right about a lack of accountability. And I think there is no better pinpoint on that issue than the taxpayer funded bonuses that is being doled out across the departments, right? So the federal government has rubber stamped $1.5 billion in taxpayer funded bonuses to bureaucrats since 2015. Now, folks, these government departments consistently fail to meet half of their own performance targets. Yet 90% of government executives get a bonus every year. The average bonus for these government executives is about 18,000 bucks. Now, I don't know about you, but if I can't meet half of my own performance targets, I'm shown the door. I'm not given an $18,000 bonus. And I think the most egregious example of this is ArriveCan. Remember that simple app that
Yeah.
initially cost 80,000 bucks? It ended up ballooning to about 60 million bucks, and the government executives working on the ArriveCan failure, they took $340,000 in bonuses. Now, why is all of this going on? Why is there a lack of accountability? Because the politicians who we elect to protect the public purse are failing. If the politicians wanted to put an end to this mess, they could.
Yeah, the challenge I have with that is you're asking the people that benefit from the rules they put in place to change the rules so they no longer benefit. It's such a mess right now, and I don't know how we fix it. But most Canadians don't have time to dig through government budgets. They're busy trying to make ends meet. So, how would you explain to the average taxpayer how much waste it is really costing them personally?
Well, you pay too much tax because the government wastes too much money. And it's not just one level of government, it's all three levels of government that are wasting money, hiking taxes, and overspending. So think about this, folks. If you look at all the taxes you pay to all three levels of government, well, almost half, 43% of the average family's budget is going to taxes. Okay, so essentially take your paycheck, rip it in half because that half is the tax man's. That's how much you're paying to all three levels of government because they keep spending like crazy. Here's another way to put it, okay? The average Canadian family is now paying more of their budget in taxes than what they spend on the necessities like food, shelter, and clothing combined.
That's such a wild stat. So I have this question for you. I've asked a few people. What do you think the efficiency of government spending is as a percentage? Just take a wild guess. You're obviously we don't know, so we're gonna postulate.
Well, I would say it's very low. Okay. And here's why I would say it's very low. The biggest cost driver, especially in Ottawa, is the bureaucracy. Okay. The bureaucracy now consumes more than half of the government's operating budget or half of the government's day to day spending. Well, guess what? The cost of the bureaucracy has gone up 73% since 2016. 73% increase. Now, I think it's a pretty safe bet that most Canadians aren't getting anywhere close to 73% better services from the federal government.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's about 20% efficiency. I think 80% we're just lighting on fire, or it's going to corruption, or like you said, red tape and bureaucracy. Um, okay, so we're constantly told that Canada doesn't have the money to fix major issues like housing, affordability, lowering the tax burden. Yet somehow there's always money for these ridiculous foreign projects. Is it fair to say that this spending is actively making life harder for Canadians?
Well, let me just give you a prime example of this. And this one actually really drives me nuts. Okay. So think about how many Canadians are waiting forever in pain to get a hip replacement. Okay. So while Canadians are struggling waiting for healthcare in pain, the government somehow had $7.2 million dollars to spend on, quote, gender responsive systems approach to universal healthcare in the Philippines. Isn't that a prime example of how Canadians are struggling at home, yet the government somehow has this money to waste abroad? But let's not forget, folks, this wasteful spending also drives inflation when during the height of the pandemic, the government printed up hundreds of billions of dollars out of thin air to finance massive deficits. But also, as the wasteful spending goes up, so does your tax bill. So not only is the government wasting your hard-earned money, but it is running these massive deficits and increasing taxes that make your life more expensive.
All right, folks, we'll be right back.